Obesity, the inner workings of fat, psychology, set point, and how to reverse obesity. Body fat is known as an endocrine organ, which means that it secretes certain hormones such as estrogen, which helps to regulate the body. Body fat cells can actually expand 1,000 times their actual size. When we gain fat, the cells that we have don't actually expand more. What happens is that the cells that we already have tend to get bigger. So we have three types of storage fats. The first one is going to be subcutaneous. This is a type of fat that is right beneath the skin. Next we have visceral fat. Now, this is a type of fat that is stored in the organs, and this is known to be the cause of obesity. This is actually quite a dangerous fat. We do not really want to have this. Next we have intramuscular fat, which is a type of fat that is in muscles, which they actually are used to have on-site energy to perform certain tasks. All these types of fat fall into what's called adipose tissue. And this is specifically white adipose tissue. Next we have the fact that cells from fat actually are very adept to storing toxins within the body from the environment, so environmental toxins. Also, when we lose fat, we also tend to secrete inflammatory cytokines. When we lose fat, actually 70% of it gets secreted through our own breath. What is the psychology of obesity? First, I want to preface this by saying that it's not your fault that you're obese. You have to understand that industries and processed food companies are working very hard to make you addicted to their product. We live in an environment where the deck is stacked against us. All right, so it's very hard, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it is our responsibility. And that's a good thing because that means the power is in our hands. And once we wake up to what is going on, then we have the power to change. The term that is thrown around in the industry is known as a heavy user. A heavy user is someone who uses a ton of their product. And they prefer this over just having more customers because then they have repeat customers over and over again and try to get it in when they're a little kid, unfortunately. You definitely can see this in the marketing. They also have something called a gas chromatograph. Now, this is a tool that is designed to replicate the taste and functions of food, but it's artificial. So it's how you get a strawberry flavor without having any type of strawberry. Things become hyper craveable and it's very hard to resist. They know all the right textures, the right crunch. They have a lot of tricks in there. Like sometimes they have, like chips in a bag. Like they'll have every now and then they'll make sure that one of them has extra flavor in there to help you keep on going back. So the body has something called a set point, which is like a thermostat for our body's weight. And we have a thermostat for pretty much anything, like blood pressure, nutrient status. Your body manages hunger via the hypothalamus and the brain by secreting certain hormones. So if you're overweight and try to lose it through a low-calorie diet, something interesting will happen. So you may lose weight in the short term, but in the long term, here's what happens. Our body's designed to survive. So being on a low-calorie diet for too long, our body's going to start to adapt and become more efficient in doing that, which means that it's going to start storing the calories more as fat. All right, it's going to slow down the thyroid, do things like that. And what happens is that once you start going back on the normal diet of calories, your body's going to gain more weight than it did when it started, because it's a protection mechanism for not starving again. So what causes obesity? Well, you can overeat your way fat, you can undersleep your way fat, you can undermove your way fat, and you can overstress your way fat. So in terms of nutrition, there are two things we want to avoid. Number one is going to be vegetable oils. Now, vegetable oils is really a marketing term because it's really corn, canola, cottonseed, safflower, sunflower, and soybean. None of these are vegetables, they're really grains and seeds. Each one of them requires 40 to 100 steps in order to get processed, such as bleaching, deodorizing, degumming, and as opposed to olive oil, which has been used for thousands of years, which is just a few steps to create. What happens is that when we start to burn fat, these oils kind of damage the mitochondria, and it causes a lot of excess stress in the body when that happens. A lot of extra free radicals that just don't need to be there. So when it comes to sugar, now this is obviously that people know this a lot, and the consumption for this just kind of skyrocketed. Like the average American, they have about 150 pounds of sugar every single year. And this is added sugar, not just naturally occurring. So how does sugar actually make you fat? Well, it's all about the hormonal impact that food has in your body. So sugar is the number one thing that spikes insulin, which is the number one fat storage hormone in the body. Fat does not spike insulin, protein does a little bit. So essentially, the more carbohydrates, the higher the insulin. Lastly, sugar causes something called AGE, or advanced glycation end products, which is basically the sugar sticking to the protein in the bodies and damaging them. So when it comes to foods to add in, you want to focus on satiety, which is the ability to feel full. Now, there are three things for satiety: water, protein, and fiber. These foods that are rich in there will help you stay full longer. These three things help expand the intestines. Look, chronic nutrient deficiency leads to chronic overeating. What this means is that the more nutrient deficient we are, the more our body is going to look for that thing that we need. But the thing is that when we eat ultra-processed foods, we're not getting the thing that it actually needs. So we keep on looking for more and more. So focus on eating more real food and what our ancestors would actually eat.